This is the day. Today is the day that you will begin to play your favorite songs on the piano. Today, we will be talking about chords, which are the lifeblood behind any piano song. Hi friends, my name is Josh, and this is the third video in a series that I have called How to Play Piano for Beginners. I'm so glad to see you here. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to spend some time with me and watch my video. I create piano tutorials, piano covers, and even some music theory videos with the help of teaching you how to play piano for yourself and to just spread the love of music. So if that sounds interesting to you, hit that subscribe button and let's go learn about chords. So let's start with a note. Here's C. But what if we play a second note, like G? And now play them together. Ah, sounds even better. Now let's try adding E. Wow, that sounds even better. This is called a C major chord. So a chord is a combination of two or more notes, although most basic chords have 3 notes. These 3-note chords are also known as triads. But even if we know that we want to start on the note C, how do we know what other notes are going to sound good so that we can make a nice chord? So there are many different kinds of chords, and what chord you're playing depends on what combination of notes you choose. You can imagine that building a chord is kind of like cooking. Depending on which ingredients you add, the dish will taste a lot different. You can choose to make it sweet, bitter, sour, savory, all depending on what ingredients you choose. Why am I always talking about food? So just like a dish, depending on what notes we add to the chord, it'll change the flavor of the chord, how the chord sounds. For instance, if we play C, E, and G, it sounds like this. Fairly happy, right? A nice flavor. But instead, if we use C, E flat, and G, it'll have a much different sound. It sounds a lot more serious or sadder. These chords have a very different quality or flavor. So now let's talk more about these different kinds of chords. The most basic chords are major and minor chords, but there's a lot of other chords as well. Seventh chords, augmented chords, diminished chords, suspended chords. We will be talking all about these more complicated chords in a different video. Today, we will be just focusing on major and minor chords. So just like a major scale, when we hear a major chord, we often associate it with being happy. But a minor chord, just like a minor scale, usually sounds a lot more serious or a lot more sad. Let's break these chords down. So let's look at our C major chord. We can represent a major chord with just the note name, C. We're omitting the word major, but this means C major. So from this, we can see that the root note of our chord is C. You know that this is the root of the chord because it's the name of the chord. This is the note that the chord is built around. Usually in a song, the root note of the chord is often the note that you will hear the bass play. So if we know that C is our root note and we have an E and a G to make a C major chord, we can count how many half steps it takes to get from each note. And that's how we can figure out how to make a major chord. So if we start on C, we can see that it takes 1, 2, 3, 4 half steps to get to the next note, E. And now from here, starting on E, we can take 1, 2, 3 more half steps and get to G. And that's how we can make a C major chord. So just like when we're playing a scale, we can use this formula that we just made and apply it to play any major chord. Use 4 half steps to get from the first note to the next note, and then 3 more half steps to get to the final note. So let's try a different root note. How about B flat? If we start on B flat, we can go up 1, 2, 3, 4 half steps to get to D, and then from D, 1, 2, 3 more half steps and get to F. That's a B flat major chord. So there's 12 major chords, 1 for each note. Now let's talk about chord symbols. So what if we see a chord symbol like this? It can be overwhelming at first, but we can simply break it down. Break it down, break it down. The first part is the note name, C. You already know what a C major chord is. Everything after the C is giving you instructions on how to modify that chord to make the new chord. For instance, the M is telling us that it's a minor chord, so instead of E, we have an E flat. And this 7 tells us that we need to add the B flat. Now we have a C minor 7 chord. I'm not expecting you to know all these symbols, all these instructions right away. I'm just trying to show you that you can break down a chord name to make it easy to understand. Another approach you could use to play a chord is by intervals. I will be making another video on intervals in the future, but basically an interval is just how many half steps there are between one note and another note. The main point I'm trying to get across here is that these chord symbols provide instructions for you on how to play the chord, so you don't have to memorize every single chord. Chords can be overwhelming, but when you break them down, it makes it so much easier. Break it down. Okay, enough. No more dancing. All right, let's go over one more type of chord, minor chords. So compared to a major chord, a minor chord only has one different note. Let's look at C minor. To show that we're playing a minor chord, we usually add a lowercase m to the chord name. So C minor is made up of C, E flat, and G. Let's look at the half steps it takes to play this chord. So from C, we go 1, 2, 3 half steps to get to our E flat. And from E flat, 1, 2, 3, 4 half steps to get to G. And that's a C minor chord. So while a major chord is built on 4 half steps and then 3 more half steps, a minor chord, on the other hand, is built on 3 half steps and then 4 more half steps. Another way you could look at this is that the C minor chord is just a C major chord, but the middle note moves down a half step. All right, let's try applying this logic to another minor chord. How about A minor? So if we start on A, we'll go up 3 half steps to get to the next note, and then 4 more to get to the final note. So starting on A, 1, 2, 3, and then from C, 1, 2, 3, 4. These are the 3 notes in our A minor chord. And remember, we're counting half steps, not keys. If you try to count keys like 1, 2, 3, 4, you might get confused because you're like, do I count this first note or not? So that could become confusing. But if you count steps, starting on A, half step, half step, half step, you'll be able to get it right every time. So when a song is played, we don't like to just stay on a single chord, we like to use multiple chords. There is usually some combination of major chords and minor chords that we put together to make a song. Kind of like taking all these different foods you've made and making a huge 5-course meal. The order that we play these chords in is called a chord progression. But how do you know which chords will sound good together in a progression? All right, let's play some chords. A typical song only uses notes from the key that a song is in. Therefore, all the basic chords that you will use in a song will only use notes from that one single scale. So let's say we want to learn a song in the key of C major. So we know that all the basic chords will only use notes from the C major scale. Now, this might not seem very helpful right now because it's easy to remember that we're only going to be playing chords that use white notes. But when learning songs in other keys, it's very helpful to know what notes will be used in the chords. So let's look at 4 chords. C, G, A minor, and F. These 4 chords are easy because they have the exact same hand shape. If you start on the root note of one of these chords, you can just skip a white key, play the next one, skip another white key, and play the last one. And then that same hand shape can be used for all 4 of these chords. But notice that even though these 4 chords look exactly the same, they're really not the same because the interval, or the number of half steps, between the white keys in each of these cases is not actually exactly the same. C, G, and F are all major chords, so they all follow the pattern of a major chord. A root note, 4 half steps, and then 3 half steps. However, A minor follows the other pattern. Starting on A, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's why that's a minor chord, while all the other ones are just major chords. All right, I think we're ready to learn a song. We're gonna try the song Let It Be by the Beatles. This is a very easy, basic piano song. Let's look at the chords in this song. So the chord progression for lots of this song is shown above. As you can see, it only uses 4 chords, the 4 that we talked about. C, G, A minor, and F. So because we know these 4 chords, we can actually already play along with this song. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna play the chords in my right hand, and I'm gonna play just the root note of these chords in my left hand. So we can play along like this. When I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me, seeking words of wisdom, let it be. And I apologize for my singing. So try to follow along with this chord progression and play this song. If you do, congratulations, you just played your first song on the piano. So here's the thing. Lots of popular music only uses a few simple chords. Many songs just have 3 or 4 chords for the entire song. So if you want to learn a song on the piano, you can just look up the song's chords on the internet and start to play along with that song right away. Also, in both my piano song tutorials and my piano covers, I show the chords I'm playing every time so that you can try to learn these songs for yourself. Here's a few other songs with very simple chord progressions that you can try to learn right away. A couple last remarks on chords. Any combination of notes that you have in a chord can be played anywhere on the piano. No matter if they're close together, spread out far apart, it's still the same chord. Also, some chords may seem really complex and not have much of a chord structure at all, but if you look closely, you'll be able to find the chords. There is so much more to say about chords, but I don't have time to talk about all that in this video, so I'll be making more videos on chords, helping you understand chords, helping you learn how they're used in songs, and all that in the future. Please consider subscribing if you're interested in that. If you want to try learning the chords to some songs right now, check out some of my step-by-step piano tutorials. And thank you so much to each of my subscribers. I love every single one of you. Okay, have a good one.